I feel the need for speed. Welcome back to the O Hockey Show. Today we are covering the Winnipeg Jets, a team that I had such high hopes for a few seasons ago, I guess years as well. And it's a team that seems to have fallen slowly out of the sky until last year they finally collapsed and missed the playoffs entirely. And unlike the Vegas Golden Knights, who are riddled with injuries and their top two players just completely didn't play the season. Basically, this team had everyone going and somehow still missed the playoffs. With 87 points, they needed at least 97 to try to tie to get in. And they were out. They were out of contention. Now, what happened? What happened to this team? Well, let's first talk about the good before the bad. The good news that I believe in this team is their top lines. I mean, Kyle Connor, one of the most underrated players in the league in my eyes. He's got speed. He's got skill. Kyle Connor, if he was on a different team, a more mainstream team, he'd be talked about a lot more. Mark Scheifele, 70 points. I feel like I want a little bit more out of Scheifele than that, but 70 points is respectable. Blake Wheeler, however, 60 points, kind of on the verge of maybe need to move on from him. He's starting to obviously show signs that he's kind of getting down there. But 60 points is still respectable. Nikolai Ehlers, 55 points. I want more out of Ehlers, but 55 points, once again, not terrible. If you get into the 40 points range is when it's kind of I don't know. Pierre-Luc Dubois, 60 points. I've never been the biggest fan of Dubois, but 60 points, once again, like Wheeler, it's good enough. 60 points on the second line is good enough in my eyes. Cole Perfetti, I think he is going to be a perfect addition to this team. I think he is going... Perfetti sounds like the name of a jet, look at that Perfetti go, it sounds like the name of a jet already. Perfetti, I think, is going to work perfectly on this team. I could easily see him getting at least 30 points, if not 40. I would say at most this season he could get up to 40. Perfetti he rubs me the right way that I think a player is going to fit in on this team. Now, I'm not going to get to the bad yet. Also, Conor Hellebuck, of course, one of the best goalies in the league. However, some stats show some interesting things about Hellebuck that I don't really know how to feel about it. But still, Hellebuck is one of those best goalies in the league. And I don't really know what this team's problem is they have a great offense. They have one of the best goalies in the league, at least top 5, I would think. And I think on paper, I like their defense. On paper, I like the look of their defense. Morrissey, DeMello, pretty solid. Not really shutdown defense, but pretty solid, two guys that can play the game well. Sandberg and Pionk, I don't really know a lot about Sandberg. He didn't play a lot of games last year. He's young, but Pionk, I love Neil Pionk. I think anyone paired with him could be great. And Brendan Dillon and Schmidt, just pretty basic, two guys. These are solid defensemen all around. Through this lineup, it's solid defense. It's not going to be anything goal scoring crazy. They're not going to be it's not a shutdown defense, but it's kind of right in the middle. This is the best, I would say, sit on your hands defense, as I like to call it. Not flashy, not really overpowering, just kind of pretty solid to get your team past. But that might be where the problem lies, which is kind of where it shows where I have problems with the Ottawa Senators defense, is that this might be where the problem lies. So the thing that I find fascinating about this team is that they were 17th in goals for last year. And I would say, that was kind of shocking for me to figure out, because a team with Connor, Wheeler, Scheifele, Ehlers, Dubois, and... Perfetti didn't really play that much. I was those guys, it seems like that's a pretty good boost. What's wrong with this team's goal scoring? The problem is that everything past that top 2 lines is pretty not amazing at all. I love Lowry. I love Mason Appleton, but these guys are not third-line material. Mason Appleton, I feel can still grow and become a better player, but 21 points and Lowry to give 21 points as well just isn't good enough. Barron, of course, didn't really play there last year. He's still a rookie. I like him. I think he could still grow. Barron, the Red Baron, or was that his name? The guy that flew the plane, the German guy. He fits on this team perfectly. It's a plane. So I think he can grow. Tony Nato can grow. Reichel, Harkins. I mean, the thing about this is that all these guys there are young players that can grow and probably get to at least 20 points. But on paper, this team makes sense why they were 17th in goals for. Is that all the goals were scored by their top two lines and they weren't benefited by anything down here. I mean, even the Chicago Blackhawks, I believe, had at least 20 points in the teens guys down here. Now, this team barely has one-digit guys and two guys in the teens. I mean, this is not excelling offense. And then even worse was their goals against. They were 20th in goals against, which is shocking for me because with a team like with Conor Hellebuck on it, and with this at least solid enough defense that I think could get a team by, they're getting 20th in goals against in the league, which is not very good. Now, the thing is that certain teams can be good at one category and mid at the other, i.e. the Minnesota Wild. Now, the thing about the Wild is that they had 253 goals against, and I believe the Winnipeg Jets had 252, which means they were right above them. The Wild were tied with like 3-4 other teams with 253. The thing is that they were in the top 5, I think, of goals for. They were one of the few teams in the league that got above 300 goals, 310. I mean, that's up there with the Avalanche, the Panthers, the Lightning. That's what their type of goals scoring is that they're able to score goals and allow goals against. While the thing about the Jets is that they're not recovering with their goals for. They're getting scored on just as much as they're scoring against. And they were the final team. The Jets were the final team of the league that had the lowest negative percentage. I guess actually lowest would be all the way down. They were the closest to positive as a team was in the negative. The only team to make it to the playoffs this offseason, to the playoffs last season, when the Stars had a negative number below the Jets. So kind of just an interesting stat there that I thought was kind of weird, is how a team that had a negative number made to the playoffs and teams that were positive didn't. Just kind of interesting. But anyways, so that's really all I have to say about that, is that the thing about the Jets is that they failed last season because where their offense failed, their defense also failed. Neither one was able to recover from the pitfalls like the Minnesota Wild could, where they made up for their goals against by scoring 60 more goals than they were scored against. So that's kind of where that thing is. That's where it lies, where I keep saying about these teams when it comes to the playoffs and stuff, is about like the St. Louis Blues and why they lost to Colorado, is that the Blues are great, but the Colorado Avalanche literally do everything better. They're the same thing but better. It's like the generic versus name brand. The Jets are okay, but there are teams that do the same thing but better. So, also, not to mention, is I don't really know what I was going to mention. Yes, Pierre-Luc Dubois. I don't know why that passed my mind. Pierre-Luc Dubois also reports is that he wants out. So in my mind, I would totally move Dubois out and bring in some goal scorers, some young guys. Maybe trade him to maybe you trade him for like a Cole Caulfield or something, because he is French Canadian. The Canadians like that. Trade him there and get back like a Cole Caulfield, because they already like their Americans. I mean, Kyle Connor, that's about it. Neil Pionk is American. I think Morrissey is as well, and Conor Hellebuck, and Mason Appleton. So anyways, I think this team, what they really need is to add goal scoring, obviously, but also really they need that offensive depth. That depth is the worst I think I've seen in this league. Because where they have great players up front, and then down here it's just absolutely terrible. And they need to fix that up. If they do, I could totally see this team overpassing like the Stars or the Nashville Predators into making it into the playoffs. It's just they need that depth. It's just they don't really have a lot of cap space to play with, and I don't really know where they'd get it from. They could trade away Dubois, but then that leaves a second line opening, and it's not like Lowry's going to be able to slide in that position. So, I don't know. There's a lot of things about this team that don't make sense, and it's not like they have injured players, kind of like the Capitals, that could totally come in and make this whole team better. So, I don't know. Do they make it to the playoffs? In my mind, they are once again right outside. They could make it in if some of these guys grow. If Barron makes it to 25 points, Reichel gets to 15, Harkins up to 25 or so, Perfetti gets up to the 40s. I could see this team making it to the playoffs, but they also have so much competition against now the Golden Knights, also the Stars and the Predators, depending on if the Stars are able to compete again. There's just a few teams that could edge them out. Once again, they have the same stuff, but they're just better in each category. So that's really all I have to say about the Winnipeg Jets, the final team of my season previews. I'm going to be moving on to division predictions, and then from there, a Stanley Cup very early predictions. So I guess until next time, please pick up your free subscription down below by hitting that red subscribe button. If you like this video, leave a like, not a dislike, down below to the comments, leaving comments, concerns, suggestions, reviews, or other sorts of tangents, rants, and opinions. And until next time, please leave below. Do you think the Jets make it to the playoffs or not? And until next time, I have been Owen. Leave in below if you know why I'm wearing this shirt. If you do, I'll say good job. And until next time, I have been Owen. Too sweet, and ta-ta for now.